10. Same way.
Yeah, start right at 10.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. A few more moments and we will begin sharing some exciting information for you. 15 seconds. I almost feel like we should do a countdown. 10, 9, 8.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy home at last.
All right, go for it.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jorge Montoya, local mortgage banker with Company Guild Mortgage, and we are so very excited to be here with you today. Our intention of this local market update is to educate you, the home buyer, the home owner, the home seller, with what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with home values, what available assistance programs are there right here in Northern Nevada in your background. So we've got a line of great speakers today. First off, we've got Raul Rodriguez, who is a 29-year Nevadan serving his community here locally. And he's going to give us an update on what's going on with home sales and home values. Then we've got Chris Mora, who is a new dad. Congratulations to you, Chris. Hashtag girl dad. I got girls, so I'm a big fan. And he's going to share about some of the amazing programs that Nevada Rural Housing has that have helped both Raul and myself get more people into homes. And then myself, I'll be giving you a forecast on what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with financing, and what's expected moving forward. So with that being said, let's dig right in. So our first speaker is Mr. Raul Rodriguez. Coming up, Raul, give us some, drop some knowledge on us.
Thank you, Jorge. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Raul Rodriguez, also known as Raul the Realtor. Hashtag Raul the Realtor. Two of my passions. Number one is to help you with your real estate needs. And number two is music. I'm a bass player and I'm part of the worship team at Redemption Church, Carson Church. A shout out to the team. We had a barbecue last night and we had a lot of fun. So this is the Carson City market for the month of April 2022. According to the Sierra Nevada Realtors website, median sales price was $468,000. Days on the market from the moment they go on the multiple listing services to where they get in contract was 14 days and 64 total days for close of escrow. 79 properties were sold and the percent of listing price received by the sellers was 100.4%. That's a 0.9 months of supply. Now for Lion.
So quick question for you, Raul. So just if I heard you correct, what you mentioned here on this slide, it says 79 properties were sold and the percent of the list price received is 100.4%. So for those home sellers and home owners that are listening to us right now, are you telling me that if I were to sell my house today, I'll get what it's currently worth, maybe a little bit more? Did I understand right?
Yes, that's the difference in between the listing price and what a buyer is willing to pay over asking price.
Interesting. Awesome.
So now for Lyon County, this includes Dayton, Stagecoach, and Fernley. Median sales price was $433,950. 13 days on the market before they get in contract. Listing price received by the seller, 99.9%. And that is only 1.6 months of supply. Douglas County, Garnerville, Minden, Topaz, median sales price, 605. 8 days on the market and 63 days for close of escrow. 65 closed sales and listing price received was 99.7%. 1.3 months of supply. So neutral market inventory is about 4 months of supply. And we are at 0.9 to 1.6 in all these counties. The market, it's still strong and steady. Remember that, strong and steady in favor of the sellers. A strong demand and a low house supplies will keep the prices high. Sellers are still receiving multiple offers, and we have a lot of buyers trying to compete in this competitive sellers market. Interest rates have gone up by double from last year, which has discouraged a lot of buyers in getting into their dream home. At the same time, rents are increasing parallel to mortgage payments. According to rent.com, the average rent for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in Carson City, it's about $1,895. The average rent for a house in Carson City, it's around $2,300 per month. So my suggestion, do not be intimidated by the interest rate increasing. Do not give up on your dream, on your home ownership dream. Keep in mind that in long-term investment only has a larger return on income versus renting long-term. As we say in real estate, learn to grow your wealth. Here's what we learn. Number one, normal market or neutral market equals 4 months of supply, 4. Number two, homes are still selling and fast. And number three, in my own opinion, this is the normal for the rest of the year. But one thing I know for sure, the markets change and this will change. Now we're gonna have Chris Mora, who got some great programs for Home at Last. And then
That's right. Thank you, Raul. So you might be wondering why you're at Nevada Rural Housing Authority for a Home at Last presentation. So that's just because Home at Last is a program of Nevada Rural Housing Authority. Home at Last was started in 2006, and since 2006, Home at Last, with the help of Raul and Jorge, have helped over 10,000 Nevada families purchase their home. Some are first-time home buyers, some are repeat buyers. So the whole mix of all sorts of buyers we have helped over the last decade or so or more. Next slide. Thank you. So let's get down right to it. Home at Last down payment assistance is, who is it for? Who can use it? But more importantly, what is it? What is down payment assistance? What does this mean? So down payment assistance is, instead of you putting the down payment, we put the down payment for you. It can also be used for closing costs. There is no first-time home buyer requirement, which makes this program very special. More on that later. There are no purchase price limits. To participate in the program, you need a minimum of 640 credit score. And as I said before, it's okay to own other properties. So let's get into the 640 minimum credit score. Every time you see a TV commercial about cars and interest rates, you're always going to pay attention. You're always going to hear the best rate is for the best qualified buyers. You'll see that 1.9 or maybe even 0% interest rate for the most qualified buyers. For us, the best qualified buyer, that top tier of interest rates is available to everyone as long as you have a 640 minimum credit score. That 640 will unlock the same interest, the same awesome and low interest rates, whether you have a 640 or a 850 or 900. I don't know what it goes up to. Where does it go up to? 850. Yep. So no matter whether you're in that range, where you are in that range, you're going to get the same amazing interest rate. Next slide. So what do you need to bring to the table to qualify for down payment assistance? Well, your income needs to be a maximum of $150,000 per year. So if you make anything less than that, and you have that 640 minimum FICO, you're in a great place. If you don't have that 640 FICO, let's say you're at 600 or 580, still you want to contact us, you want to contact Jorge, because he's going to tell you everything you need to do to bump it up. Maximum debt to income ratios, that's something that Jorge will work with you on. If you're below 640, to work in that area to increase your FICO. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And again, no first-time home buyer requirement. So if you're a first-time home buyer, we got you covered. If you're a repeat buyer, if you own a house, we got you covered. So let's say right now you're living at home and you have, let's say you're living, let me use my personal experience. I was 30-something living with my mom and dad, and they're like, when are you gonna move out? Well, this is a great opportunity because maybe I rent their house and maybe my parents go and buy another house. That's the way to get rid of me and to grow their real estate portfolio, right? And if they don't have money for a down payment assistance, can you click the next slide, please? If you don't have money for down payment assistance, you can see here our assistance options 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, and 2%. These are the down payment assistance options you can utilize to purchase your next home or your first home. Using the example of a repeat buyer. So my parents, let's say they have some money, but they don't want to spend it on a down payment. They're going to use the 0% assistance option. You might hear the 0% assistance option referred to as no assistance, unassisted, 0% assistance. There are a few names for it, but basically, if you have the money for a down payment, or you want to refinance, because we can refinance too, that 0% is going to be your refinance rate, is going to be your rate if you have your down payment. If you want down payment assistance, then you would move on to 1 or 2%, those options, which you see 2%, 6.5% today. Our refinance rate as of today is 5.625. And again, that refinance rate is also the purchase rate if you don't have, if you already have your down payment. So lots of options for you. The takeaway here is you don't have to be a first-time buyer to use our program. And if you want to keep some of that money in your savings, you can use our down payment assistance. Next slide. Now, I said for first-time buyers, we got you covered. Mortgage credit certificate is a mouthful. That's why we call it the MCC. MCC, I'll call it MCC from now on because I'm not going to say that again. All right, here's a legal explanation of MCC. The MCC is a dollar-for-dollar federal income tax credit. Take the credit annually when you file your tax return. The MCC increases your take-home pay by adjusting your W-4 form when at your place of employment. The MCC can also increase your buying power. To qualify for the MCC, you should be a first-time buyer or a qualified veteran. Now, keep in mind with the first-time buyer, it's a little misleading, just a little bit. If you owned a home 3 years before, if it's been 3 years since you've owned a home, you're considered a first-time buyer. You have to meet MCC income and purchase price limits, but basically connect with Jorge on that. Those details he'll work out with you because there are other requirements depending on where in Nevada you want to purchase your home. Next slide. So let's see the MCC in action in real time for a realistic buyer. Let's look at this first example here. The MCC would produce $371 a month extra. Basically, what's happening, that $371 is interest that's credited back to you monthly, in this case, monthly. And it's whatever you're paying in mortgage interest. If you don't have the MCC, it goes to the bank. See ya, $371. But if you have this MCC, 20% of the mortgage interest that you pay gets returned to you. In this case, $345,000 home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Fallon produces $371 a month that's credited back to the home buyer. Let's move on to the next example, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Gardnerville. The list price is $450,000. The MCC could potentially boost your income $485. That is huge, big time money that can help you qualify for a home. Let's say you have student loan debt, a credit card debt, and a car payment, and you're just barely there qualifying for a home. that $485 can create a cushion so you can purchase a bigger, better home. Is that accurate, Jorge, you'd say?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love this program because from a qualification standpoint, when you give me this boost, that means now I can turn around to the home buyer, and say, hey, now you qualify for a little bit more, which is really important today.
Right. So it allows you to qualify more, or it's enough of an income boost just to qualify you, period.
Yeah.
Next slide. And that wraps it up. So the key takeaways here are down payment assistance is available for first-time and non-first-time buyers. The mortgage credit certificate is an excellent tool for first-time buyers and qualified veterans to get that income boost to qualify for a home or qualify for a bigger, better home. And with that, I will hand it off to Jorge Montoya from Guild Mortgage.
Awesome. That's good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I will say Nevada Rural Housing and I have had a relationship for many, many years, and they have definitely been a part of our company's success in helping homeowners get into homeownership. So thank you for what you guys do. So having said that, let's jump right in. Can I see myself on the thing? Cool. So a lot of questions these days are about interest rates because as we all know, things have changed and they've changed quite a bit. So let's dig right in. So let's start with the 2022 dynamics. So number one, the Fed will play a major role in 2022, and you've already seen that the Federal Reserve has been focused on, like the PowerPoint says, tapering and rate hikes, and we can expect this to continue moving forward. Now, what happens with this is that now you're going to have an impact on equity markets. It's going to drive interest rates. It's going to impact housing as well as jobs. Right now, the biggest focus for the Federal Reserve is fighting inflation. That is the main focus. Now, it is believed that the Fed should have hiked interest rates sooner. They thought that this current problem of inflation was transitory, and it turned out that it wasn't. So now let's talk about inflation. What does that mean? So I'll tell you what that means. The cost of goods are more expensive. So a simple piece of lumber to be purchased today versus 2 years ago is now more expensive. And that's why you see homes being sold, new construction homes a little bit higher. You guys ever go to the 99-cent store? Did you know that the 99-cent store is no longer 99 cents? It's like $1.28. And that's an effect of inflation. The cost of goods is more. Gasoline. God, I filled up my gas tank. $100 used to go a long way. Now it doesn't, right? It takes $120. So that's what inflation is. Now, what we're going to look at next is history can give us a forecast of what we can expect to happen with inflation and then effectively interest rates, because that's what matters to you, the home buyer and the home seller, is interest rates. What are they going to do? So let's take a look at some of our country's history and past Fed chairmen and how they handled inflation and what the outcome was on their strategy. So let's move on to the next slide. So as you can see here, what's going on with interest rates? I really like this graph because it breaks down several things. So let's start at the very top. You see it says Burns and Volcker. These were the Fed chairmen between 1970 and 1980. Then you have Alan Greenspan, which was the Fed chairman in the 90s. And then you have Mr. Jerome Powell, which is our current Fed chairman. Now, what we're going to look through here is a few patterns. So if you look back to Burns and Volcker, it says inflation at the time, 1970s to 1980s, was 7%, and then it went up to 14%, which is really high. Now, here's what happened with interest rates. At that time, interest rates were 12%. Now, 12%, that's a high interest rate. So when somebody tells me today, hey, rates are high right now, no, they're not. You're not paying 12%. They paid 12%. Now, here's what happened. Inflation went up to 14%. Mortgages at that time went from 12% to 18%. So then the Federal Reserve, they pumped the brakes. They said, okay, we got to take some action. So now the Fed funds rate, they took the Fed funds rate from an 11%, and then they rose it all the way up to 20%. And then the after effect of the Fed implementing the strategy of raising the Fed funds rate was that the inflation went from 14% back down to 5%. And then the after effect of inflation going down, look at what happened at rates. They went from 18% to 12%. So rates dropped. Now let's move forward to Mr. Alan Greenspan in the 90s. Inflation during his era was 1.75%, and then it rose to 3.5%. And then a similar pattern occurred. Look at mortgage rates. They went from 7% to 8.5% because of inflation rising. So once again, the Federal Reserve took action. And the way they took action was by once again raising the Fed funds rate. So they rose it from 4.75 to 6.5. And then look at what happened to inflation. If you go over to the right, inflation went from 3.5 back down to 1%. And then the after effect again, that drove rates to go from 8.5 to 5.5%. So once again, that same strategy that Burns and Volcker used in the 70s and 80s worked for Mr. Alan Greenspan, and rates dropped. Now let's fast forward to today. Mr. Jerome Powell, inflation was at 1.5%, and it rose all the way up to 8.5%, which is some of the highest we've seen in about a decade. Now look at what happened to mortgage rates. Rates went from 2.5% on a 30-year fixed note, which is some of the lowest I've seen in my 16-year career, all the way up to 5%. And actually, as of today, it's a little bit higher, average of about 5.25%, 5.375%. So then what did the Federal Reserve do this year? And they started announcing it at the beginning of the year. They said, you know what? We have to fight inflation. We're going to raise the Fed funds rate. And they surely did. They took the Fed funds rate from 0, which is a all-time low, to 3%. So if you look to the right, when this chart was prepared, the forecast was that inflation should drop. Now we are in May. The Federal Reserve did raise the Fed funds rate aggressively. And last month, April, inflation went down for the first time this year. It went from the 8.5 that's on this chart to 8.3. So the same strategy worked again. So now if you move over to the right, eventually, if this pattern repeats, the 5.25 rate that is available today should decline as inflation declines. So I wanted to share this with you all because it's really difficult to predict the future, but our past will give us some clues. And as you can see, this strategy of raising the Fed funds rate has worked before 2 different times in resulting in lower rates. So let's move on to the next slide. So having said that, what can we anticipate as far as mortgage rates? Well, we anticipate interest rates to continue to rise probably throughout the rest of the year. However, as I showed you on that last chart, as inflation becomes tamed, as it starts going down, we could see an improvement to interest rates. Now, you might be asking yourself, when, Jorge? I want to lock in my rate right at that moment. Here's the truth, I don't know, because we don't know how global markets react. What we do know is that this should happen. Could be at the end of this year, could be next year, but it's rather difficult to predict. What I can tell you as a home buyer or a home seller is stay ready. If home ownership is a part of your goal, stay ready, stay approved, keep your eyes open for home opportunities, because when markets changed, you know what I've learned in 16 years is the market, it doesn't ask for my permission, it just reacts. And I was either ready for it or I was not. So let's go on to the next slide. So can you move it over so I can just see what it says? All right. So now that we're in a rising interest rate environment, we have the rise of risky financing. And I want to spend a few moments talking about this. For almost a decade, risky financing has been a thing of the past. It just wasn't necessary. But when you have higher home values, higher mortgage rates, institutions start becoming a little bit more creative. Now, to be clear with you, I'm not saying I'm for or against these products, but I am here to educate you about them. So let's start with the infamous ARM, adjustable rate mortgages. This is one way that lending institutions will provide you with the reduced interest rate in order to keep lower payments. Now, again, I said I'm not for or against because this becomes a really personal decision. Me, myself, I'm old school. I don't like adjustable rate mortgages for me and my family, so therefore I don't get them for myself. But that's just me, one human. There are some people out there that are comfortable with taking a little bit more risk. So let me explain it to you, because if you are someone that wants to play in that space, it's important that you understand how they work. So an adjustable rate mortgage may be fixed for 5, 7, or 10 years. And to be clear, you will get a discounted interest rate for a moment of time, 5, 7, or 10 years. The risk that comes with this is that at the end of that term, 5, 7, or 10, your rate will change 100% guaranteed. What we don't know is whether that rate will go up or will go down. So it's really important that you understand, if you're playing in that space, that you know that you're getting temporary financing. Your payments are temporary for only a short period of time. Second, interest-only options. We're going to start seeing lending institutions offer these again, because when home values are higher and people want lower payments, paying interest only is a way of getting lower payments. But once again, if you play in that space, you must understand that an interest-only payment is a reduced payment for a period of time. You may be allowed to pay interest only for 10 years, but guess what? At the end of the 10th year, bank's going to want their money back. That's normal, right? But here's what happens. You paid 10 years interest only, and now you've got 20 years left. So they're going to readjust your payment based on the 20 years left remaining on your loan term. That will give you some payment shock. If you were paying $2,000 and now you have to divide the remaining balance over 20 years, you could see $1,000 increase, which can be risky. So again, I just want you to understand these. You're going to start seeing some of these. I'm not saying go and get one of these programs. This becomes a rather personal decision. I want to make sure that you understand what it is that you're signing up for. Next. So with that being said, move that down. Do not get discouraged from buying a home this year. You know, most of the time, if not all of the time, anything that is worth it. In Spanish, we say te cuesta. It takes some work, right? Like it takes some work. Anything that's worth it takes some work. So I know that today's home buying market can make it difficult, and it is a little bit more challenging because of home values rising and mortgage rates rising. But Raul just demonstrated to us that homes are still selling. The American dream is alive and it's doing very, very well. People still believe in home ownership. Now, even though there are some challenges, there may be some opportunity, and many housing experts are still forecasting that we will see a continued home appreciation this year and beyond. So what I've put here is a simple example to give you some hope of what you may be able to participate in if you choose to become a homeowner. So if you were to purchase a $400,000 home today, and values increase near their historical average of 5%, you would gain $20,000 in appreciation over the next year alone. And this is by just buying a home. If home values went up 5%, I just bought my home, I'm paying my monthly payments, and then appreciation awarded me with a $20,000 gift. That's pretty cool, right? You guys want 20 grand? Me too. Give me 20 grand, please. So I wanted to share that with you because yes, don't get discouraged. The American dream is alive and well. Homes are selling, people are buying, and this may be something that you can benefit for you and your family. So having said that, I wanted to thank you, first of all, for spending some time with us. Our purpose of this was to educate you, the home buyer, the home seller, the home owner, on what's available here in your neighborhood. And I want to also thank Chris and Raul, who are right here. These guys are my partners in lending and financing, and I'm so thankful for everything that they do. So thank you guys. Any last thoughts that you guys want to share?
Just to echo what you said, Jorge, about the market being the way it is, to participate in that historical 5%, right?
Absolutely.
Year over year. Now's the right time to jump in.
Definitely. Anything for you,
For
bro?
renting prices, if you're paying $2,300 a month, what can that get you for a loan?
That's a great question. So if you're paying $2,300 a month in rent, which you demonstrated to us that that's real, that may get you a $400,000 home, depending on the area, depending on the down payment. So if you're already paying that, might as well own, right? Awesome, awesome, guys. Well, thank you once again. Here is our information. If you have any questions on the amazing programs that Nevada Rural Housing has, Christopher Moore's information is right here, name, number, email address. If you have any questions on housing, and maybe you're not ready to buy, but you are not ready to sell, but you just want to continue the conversation, Raul Rodriguez, local real estate expert, hashtag Raul the Realtor is right here. His information is listed there. And then if you have any questions on anything money, if you want to talk about interest rates, whether you're wanting to buy, sell, or refinance, my information is there as well. We're at your service. We're here to help you out. And thank you once again for joining us with our local market update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Till next time.